Unsurprisingly, the novel coronavirus was ultimately the third leading cause of death in America last year, because it was a brand new virus that, despite the protestations of Anthony Fauci, likely leaked from a Chinese lab. But now we have free vaccines to anyone else who wants them, and as we reach herd immunity, the COVID era is coming to a close, no matter how badly the forever lockdowners want to prolong it. But buried in the preliminary data released by the CDC is a devastating indictment of just how badly the government botched 2020 as a whole. Last year, our overall life expectancy fell by 1.5 years, bringing our average life expectancy to 77.3 years. That's wiping away more than a decade of medical progress. But surprisingly, COVID was not the only significant cause for that decrease, and especially not with the demographics deemed the least privileged. Unintentional overdoses, drug overdoses, those were responsible for more than 11% of the overall decrease in average life expectancy. COVID, oddly enough, played a larger part in reducing the average life expectancy for white Americans than for black ones. Why? In large part, homicides. Yes, the grand irony of the year where stores had to proudly paint Black Lives Matter on their boarded up storefronts for fear of being looted by Antifa is that the movement ultimately killed black lives at the expense of woke activists. In a Wall Street Journal report on skyrocketing crime in urban cores, crime scholar Richard Rosenfeld and NYPD official Michael LePetri note that the crime situation may have been exacerbated because police were drawn away from violent neighborhoods to city centers to monitor very peaceful protests that include rioting and looting. Whereas COVID caused more than 2/3 of the life expectancy decrease for white Americans, it only caused a slim majority of the life expectancy decrease for black Americans. Homicide was responsible for nearly 8% of the life expectancy decrease for black Americans, compared to just 1% for white Americans. But at least everyone got to post their black squares on Instagram. So local governments let Black Lives Matter run wild, diverting necessary law enforcement from predominantly black victims of homicide in the process, and in the meantime subjected the rest of us to disastrous lockdowns that caused cataclysmic deaths from overdoses, up 30% in 2020, and other maladies caused by a lack of exercise. And that didn't even stop COVID, as evidenced by other nations and states that managed to control COVID before the vaccine rollout, even while keeping the schools open and unemployment low. Just look at Florida. 2020 was a test, and our ruling class failed miserably. From BLM killing black people to public health experts driving people into a drug-fueled grave, not one part of the past year's policy ought to ever be revisited.